Give a warm welcome for our panelists.
There's always been like two big ideas that venture capitalists have looked at and tried to tackle. Education is one, but education is very tough. We've got some great companies in Mac, Handsome, Zigazoo, Dexter that tackle education, but it's really tough. But they're doing a great job. Healthcare, there's a lot more money coming from different places. There's the government, there's insurance, there's the private sector. So you tend to see more companies, and in Mac we've got great ones like Spore Health, like Radish, a whole fleet. And these are four of our terrific health tech companies that we wanted to highlight. Emerson said, the first wealth is health. And so as we're talking about making money, I thought that was a great quote to start. And we think that this is a great combination of a team of people who are doing some great things. So I wanted to start with you, Rithvik. You are a recent graduate of Stanford. You have a computer science degree or economics degree. You graduated in 2020. You could have done anything. I get stories that like Google will pay you like a whole lot of money to go work for them, but you decided to start a healthcare company. Tell us why.
Yeah, definitely. And first of all, thanks for having me, Adrian.
Yeah.
And minor correction, I actually didn't graduate, so I dropped out in 2021.
Even
Sorry,
better.
Not to sound like that guy, but yeah. So the reason that I started Gradia, and this was the company that I uniquely wanted to work on for the next 10 to 15 years of my life, was really because of a pretty personal problem that I experienced. So I have a rare eye condition. Found that there was a lot of unnecessary anxiety and frustration associated with the process of going to the doctor. The medical visit was extremely rushed. I felt like I was flailing between the in-person visits that I was having. And so that was like the main motivation, but there was also another force at play, which was I had spent about 8 to 10 years growing up just in clinics, and that's because my father's a clinician, so there was actually no one to watch me after school, and so I would just hang around these clinics and get to know everyone that worked there, and it happened over the course of many, many years. And so I got a ton of exposure to different problems that were being experienced by different people on all parts of or on different sides of the table. So think your clinicians, your patients, et cetera. And so a lot of those insights kind of transferred over when we started Gradia.
Great. And we'll get into a little bit more about what you do and the impact it's having, how the company is growing. Victor Lee from Pravita, you also are computer science, double computer science degrees. I think you have some other biochemistry degree. You and your wife, you're one of our 3 husband-wife teams that here at Mac Venture Capital started Pravita after working in healthcare for a long time. And the thing I love about healthcare is that everybody can really relate. You started out working in oncology. Unfortunately, so many of us know people who have had cancer. So I'd love to just tell us a little bit about why you started the company. Your sales are going terrific. How it's going and the impact you're having.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. And Adrian, you're right. So I think we live in a world where, unfortunately, every one of us are impacted by cancer, right? My father-in-law recently had cancer, and he's in remission. And whether it's a loved one, yourself, and Adrian said my wife and I started Pravita. My wife's a clinician. I'm a data scientist. And we started because we lost one of our closest friends to cancer. And she was an undocumented immigrant from Guatemala, lived in a healthcare desert, Palm Springs. And we became her care advocates through her journey. So I saw firsthand the tribulations that patients experience in their healthcare journey. And what happened in the first 3 months of her early diagnosis, we kind of think she had cancer, was like we were going through the gauntlet of the healthcare system. I think some people may appreciate just how complicated it is. And everybody here knows. And it was maddening. We just needed to get her blood draw. We needed to get her diagnostic. We needed her priors, right? Things that should have taken 2 weeks, right? It took 3.5 months. And the thing that was the pit in the stomach kind of feeling when we finally got to her surgical oncologist, the right one with the right data, right? I'm a data scientist. He had the words that nobody wants to hear. Just, you're a couple weeks too late. If you came to me 2 weeks earlier, I could have done something for her. I could operate on her. And literally that was that moment where we're like, this fucking can't happen anymore. Because it was preventable, literally. Like, and so here's the irony of the story, right? My wife was she was directing a cancer center at the time as a clinician. She knew exactly what to do. She just couldn't force anybody on the other end to do them. And it's like nobody's fault, right? The healthcare system just means that everyone's doing too many things, the providers are overwhelmed. And so that's the thesis of our Pravita, is that we're trying to upskill, empower everybody, the nurses, the medical assistants, everyone that's touching the patient, right? So we're a care navigation platform, which means that we're giving software and data in the hands of the nurses to basically shepherd the patients through the process, so that nobody nobody has to experience what Becky did. And besides the commercial traction, we're really proud of the outcomes. Like right now, we recently did a study where in a cancer population, we were able to detect out of every 5 patients, 1 patient has progressed in their cancer. And we found them early enough to get them the right treatment and the right care, because we just helped them kind of navigate their journey so that the data gets in the hands of the doctors faster.
Thank you. Amazing. Appreciate the personal story too. So relatable. Catherine, you have a company called For Sure. You were at Facebook before. You were one of the great teams there, but you decided to go out on your own and start a company that can provide better healthcare and insurance and everything else for people who own pets. So why don't you tell us why you did that and how it's going?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks so much, Adrian, for having me and putting this whole amazing event together.
Thank you.
Really loving this, and I know we all just had some lunch and hearing some really good stories. Really excited to be part of it. So who here has a pet? Who has a cat or dog? Got some peeps here, nice. So there's been a total shift. I see you with your 2 cute cats. There's been a total shift in how we view our pets, right? Pets used to be property 20, 30 years ago. Now, not only are they part of the family, but they're our starter kids. My dog is my furry son, and I'm practicing parenting on him, as with all millennials. Millennials, we overtook baby boomers as the largest pet-owning demographic a couple of years ago, and COVID really accelerated that trend, right? Every other mother that wanted to get a pet could finally do so because we're spending time at home. But the problem here is, as much as we love our pets, we have no idea how much it costs to take care of them, which is what happened to me with my cat Simba. He was my pride and my joy. I had grown up with pets my whole life, but Simba was the first that I was personally financially responsible for, and he ended up being diagnosed with cancer. It was called lymphosarcoma, and treatment cost $12,000. And at the time, I was in college, and I had no idea that cats could even get cancer, and I felt completely just like broken. I felt like maybe I should have known better, should have been able to prepare, and I was considering to go into debt to save his life, and he ended up passing away pretty quickly after being diagnosed. And honestly, I repressed that memory, finished college, worked at Facebook, and I was actually volunteering at a shelter in the Bay Area where I lived, and I was ready to get another pet. And I was talking to a woman there, and granted it was in the Bay Area, which prices are expensive, but she said that her dog was running around her backyard and tore an ACL, and it cost $8,000. And she was also floored, but she had signed up for pet insurance. And I was like, wait, there's insurance for pets? And I just became obsessed with the problem, could not help myself but work on it, where I talked to a handful of my friends that owned pets, and I said, do you have pet insurance? And they're like, no, what is that? And with just a couple bits of information, 15 of them signed up, and I knew that there was something really important here to poke into. And so ultimately we started For Sure. We're the first financial platform for pet owners. We help pet owners pay for care. We have a health insurance product that we're actually going to be launching in Austin, in Texas next month. And we also have a debit card that pet owners are using to pay for bills across the board. I think just given the macro climate today, unprecedented levels of debt across the board, and with vet care on the rise, it's really causing a real financial crisis. And so what we're hoping to do, and what we've done to date, is really help pet owners save many, many thousands of dollars and ultimately feel really confident that they can care for their family in a better way.
Awesome. Thank you. Amanda, you're a co-founder of Sequel. Like Rithvik, you also have an engineering degree from Stanford, or you actually graduated. You're also a mechanical engineer,
Yes.
as is your co-founder, Greta. When I first heard your story, which actually came from another venture capitalist, who said, listen, I have these two young engineers who in college were designing a tampon that was completely different than anything else that's been designed in the last 80 years. I was like, wait, they haven't redesigned a tampon in 80 years? That sounds like it's tailor-made for venture capitalists because it's a legacy industry that needed to be disrupted. And I did some quick math and I said, well, I guess half the population probably uses tampons. So, and then I met you guys are dynamic, but I've kind of, I've told a little bit about the story. Tell us why you do it, why you got into it, why you started the company, and how it's going.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. And I think it's really cool. We have this huge mix of problems that our founders are working on, and I'm very happy to represent the physical, medical device, hardware aspect of health tech. So we landed here. I came out of the design program at Stanford, the design school, very physical product focused, right? But that's not where Sequel started. Sequel started for me on the beach. It started for my co-founder on the field. She was a Division I athlete recruited to Stanford's lacrosse team, one of the best teams in the country. I competed for the United States in the sport of life-saving for the last decade. And we had always struggled with having our women's health products stand up to the test in those critical moments. And I mean, to go into detail, right? Like Greta's wearing a white uniform. Those are her Stanford whites. And she's asking her teammates, can you check me? Instead of focusing on that goal she needs to score. I was a lifeguard for many years, and we sit on white lifeguard chairs on the East Coast. I will say no more. And so when we were in that design program, focusing on the unmet needs of people that we knew well to us, our teammates, my fellow lifeguards, and our fellow classmates, it was very evident to us that there were problems within the women's health space. There were very many unmet needs, but specifically in feminine products, something that affects half of the population 1 week out of every month. It's a huge problem with, as Adrian said, a huge market. And so when we dug into, how are we going to solve this problem? What did we wish we had on game day? We were led to the tampon, not we're going to redesign the tampon. It was how can we make the best menstrual product experience possible? Remembering that we come from this physical product background. There's a lot of products in the women's health space, diagnostics. There's a lot of great work that's being done in, data collection and really trying to understand the gaps in a lot of these unmet needs. But there's not a lot of work being done in the physical product landscape that is truly differentiated. And that's true. The tampon has not been fundamentally redesigned in over 80 years. Right? And so what we're coming to market with, we're currently pending FDA review. Tampons are a Class 2 regulated medical device. Is a tampon that is re-engineered using fluid mechanics and redesigned to prevent premature leakage so that women do not have accidents in their most critical moments. And you can see I'm wearing white pants right now. I'm pretty confident.
Tell us about two things. You pick, or you can do both. One, big things that are happening, and two, how you make your company into a huge company in terms of revenue. I think we all have the idea, but it'd be great to hear it. And I'm going to ask similar questions as we come down the line.
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting things that's happening for us is that we are shifting our company right now from one that was very purely focused on research and development, and I could talk for hours about how crazy the tampon space is. There's very few manufacturers. It's almost monopolistic in nature. And so navigating that R&D cycle was very difficult for us, and figuring out, where are we going to get this made? How is it going to be made to the standard that we know it should be made at, right? And so now that we've accomplished those milestones, we're signed a scale production partnership with one of the leading manufacturers in the world for tampons. We are currently pending FDA review with that final manufactured product. We can start shifting our focus to what Adrian mentioned is revenue and building a business with really strong fundamentals and making sure that, we can raise that Series A. We're a max seed company, and having those strong business fundamentals. And I think a lot of that comes from, we have a physical product, It is a very highly needed and repetitively needed product, right? It is a high margin product, but it is a commodity. And so understanding how do we decommoditize this commodity product to make sure that people understand, this is not on the shelf next to toilet paper. This is necessary game day equipment so that women and all people that menstruate can perform at their highest levels, no matter whether you're on the field or whether you're trying to do your everyday tasks. And so something that we're looking at very much so now as opposed to our R&D phase in the past 4 years is what types of differentiated distribution and go-to-market strategies can we employ that are not like those companies that came before us, right? How do we not play the retail game where CVS is eating like a very high margin of your product, and then you're left like at the mercy of these like end caps and store shelves, right? How can we diversify and differentiate our go-to-market strategy so that we don't need to play the same game as everyone else because we don't have the same product as everyone else?
Yeah. Terrific, thank you. Victor, tell us about, you're not just a health tech company, you're an enterprise software company, and your company is being sold to some pretty big enterprises. In a minute, tell us how it's going.
Yeah, so we sell into large accounts, large clinics, large cancer centers. We want Previta to be in every single clinic, right, for the patient. It's amazing. I mean, it's not a hyperbole. What Previta does from a care pathway clinical navigation software doesn't exist. You have nurses and navigators that use spreadsheets today, and we want to change that. And we hit product market fit really, really early on. Everybody was thirsting for technology. We just need to scale faster, right? And we closed a round back in. We've had 2 rounds. We closed around December, so it's allowing us to scale. But what I'm super excited about is the data component. That is, when we are able to gather data from every single patient in the country about how they're responding in their journey, how they respond to a medication, how they're responding, what are their barriers? Is it transportation? Is it social determinants of health? Like, why is it that prostate cancer affects black men twice as severe as whites, right? Why is that? Like, we don't know. We have to understand the data component. And so the path to super rocket growth is we're fielding all these conversations with medical device companies, with pharmaceutical companies. I just had another conversation with Janssen Oncology the other day, right? So they are interested in the data play for us. And you guys can imagine just how massive the opportunity is around AI, like being able to proactively identify if somebody has cancer before they progress from stage 1 to stage 2. We have the data, we have the means.
Yeah. You're making money. You're sure in this crowd that you're
oh yeah, no, I mean,
your ARR and your MRR is going.
I mean, we've grown 10x in the last year. I mean, I was just sharing with Adrian that literally yesterday, my head of ops told me we grew 30% month over month, right? So
terrific.
We're
all right.
that yeah.
We'll fill them in on some of the other things going on. And I want to hear from Vic. Medicare is a big part of your financial solution. Tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. So let me also give a quick overview of what Gradia does. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'll try to keep it short. Gradia is a concierge care platform designed for clinics that's directly reimbursed by Medicare. So we partner directly with an already existing physical practice, which lets us use existing clinical infrastructure, and we give their physicians software that they can use to deploy and manage virtual care teams of dietitians and nurses that work closely with their patients between the in-person appointments that they're already going to be having. So the interesting thing about our model is that Medicare is technically our biggest customer. They're the one that's paying the bulk of the medical bill. A portion of that is passed on to the clinics. We get a portion of that, and for many patients, this is low or no cost. And so in terms of where we're at, we're partnered with several pretty large GI practices. We decided to start with GI as a specialty because it's a very, very high volume specialty, and they see a lot of patients, right? But the plan is we'd want every single patient with a chronic condition to be able to use Gradia, and what we're gonna do is concentrically expand to other specialties using the same playbook that's worked well for us in GI.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Give it up for our panelists. Thank you guys so much.